Hello there. The UK does not have an immigration or border system. No, it has a major, ongoing crime scene. A man with no money, no house, no job, no university place, yet he and his whole family are living here in Britain on visas secured with 110% fake documents. That's the immigration system we've been left with. And it's not a one-off accident. It's the logical result of decades of politicians treating our borders as optional extras instead of the foundations of national survival. This story comes from a Sky News investigation. A family from India, not their real names, sold everything they had, handed over 20,000 quid to agents, and those agents created fake bank accounts, fake deposits, fake loan statements, and fake stories to get them student visas and dependent visas to enter Britain. They were even coached on Zoom to parrot the right answers at immigration control. Why the UK? Because it's multicultural. What are your hobbies? Gardening, reading, baking. It was a script, and immigration officers just waved them through. This looks more like a system of infiltration by bureaucracy rather than immigration control, a system so riddled with loopholes that criminal gangs openly advertise it, teach it, and profit from it. And once inside, once the lies are exposed, nothing really happens. They don't get removed. They don't get deported. They simply melt into the shadows of a Britain that is supposed to be a first world country, but increasingly looks like it's being run on third world principles. The family admitted the whole thing was fake. The wife never even turned up to her university course. Their visas were technically cancelled. But 2 years later, they're still here, living in taxpayer-funded accommodation, feeding up food banks, tying up court time with repeated reapplications. And charities openly say 1 in 10 of their users are in this situation, either here illegally or having overstayed their visas, with the Home Office completely unaware or unwilling to act. What does that tell you? It tells you that our border controls aren't controls at all. They are just suggestions, a mere performance, a play-acting routine to reassure the public while the back door is left wide open. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. We already live in a country with a two-tier society. The law-abiding British citizen is hammered by rules, restrictions, taxes, fines and endless surveillance. Ordinary families are lectured about their carbon footprint, their bins, their behaviour, their speech. But illegal entrants, or those here on fraudulent documents, are protected by a parallel legal system. Their rights take priority. Their comfort is guaranteed. And the moment enforcement is even mentioned, an army of lawyers and campaigners appears to stall everything indefinitely. The woke left would call this a form of compassion. But no, it's merely contempt. Contempt for the taxpayer, for the nation, for the people who built this country, and are now being treated as if they're second-class citizens in their own homeland. And this two-tier problem doesn't just exist at the border. It bleeds into schools, into hospitals, into housing. White working-class children are now consistently the lowest performing group in education, but they are the least likely to receive targeted support. Why? Because they're the wrong category. because the resources are being funneled elsewhere, often into accommodating wave after wave of newcomers, all under the woke umbrella of somehow providing opportunities for people, when in reality it's the direct and deliberate neglect of Britain's own. Look again at the Sky News case. 13 people crammed into one house, legality unknown, with children sleeping on floors, all awaiting for the UK social services to step in and provide proper accommodation. That's the reality. There is no integration, there is no stability, there is no planning, there is only chaos. And that chaos ends up undercutting wages, driving up rents, stretching the NHS and fueling resentment across communities. What's worse is how predictable all of this is. The charities themselves admit the Home Office is handing out visas left, right and centre without proper checks. They admit fake paperwork gets processed. They admit follow-up is non-existent. And yet nothing changes. Year after year, scandal after scandal, the same circus continues. So we end up with an immigration system that isn't really a system at all. It's a patchwork of failures. A border force that waves people through with crib sheet answers. A visa process that rewards fraudsters. A legal system that protects lawbreakers more than it protects law-abiding citizens. A political class that talks tough at election time and then quietly opens the door wider afterwards. This is why Britain feels broken, because at the core of the state, at the level where the country decides who comes in, who stays and who belongs, there is no will to act. And when you have no will to act at the border, you have no control anywhere else. That's why the schools are breaking down. That's why prisons are overcrowded. That's why food banks are turning into welfare systems for people who should never have been allowed to stay here in the first place. We're told endlessly that immigration is a benefit, that Britain needs it. But what we actually see is an endless stream of disadvantages, stretched housing, stretched hospitals, divided communities, and a permanent political paralysis where any attempt to talk about numbers is shouted down as racist. That's not democracy, that is censorship by intimidation. The British people never voted for this. Time and again they've said they want immigration reduced. Time and again politicians have promised to deliver. And time and again they've done the opposite. Net migration is running at record levels. Illegal migration is running unchecked across the Channel. And meanwhile, ordinary families are left at the back of the queue for housing, for healthcare, for education. Here's the truth. A nation that can't or won't control its borders is not a nation in any meaningful sense. It's just a territory being administered until it collapses under its own contradictions. And unless Britain changes course, unless it tightens the system, enforces the rules and ends the two-tier treatment, survival as a coherent country is at stake. The Sky News case isn't unusual. It's just a glimpse into what is happening every single day. Coaching sessions in foreign countries, fraudulent documents waved through, families who arrive knowing they'll never leave, and a British government that seems more afraid of activist lawyers and bad headlines than it is concerned for its own citizens. Our weak policies designed to prevent accusations of racism against the authorities have become an existential threat to the United Kingdom. Because when your children are held back in school, when your hospitals are full, when your communities are strained to breaking point, and when your flag means less than a fake piece of paper, then you are no longer running your own country. You are being run. And the longer this continues, the more Britain drifts towards massive breaking point. Civil frustration, community division, rising anger. All of it fed by the refusal by the state to do the single most basic job it has: defend the border. So the question is simple: how much longer are we prepared to accept it? Finally, please like, subscribe and comment below, and join our channel membership, and subscribe to our other channel, Tripe and Whatnot, for bite-sized snippets from this channel, and most importantly, join Ben Habib's Advance UK to get us out of this mess. Links in the descriptions box below. And thank you for watching.